This is Burke File with Lauren Victoria
Burke, managing editor for Politics 365.
Here with us to discuss is Lauren Burke. She's a writer for the National Newspaper Publishers Association.
O'Connell and Lauren Victoria Burke, thank you both for being here.
First of all, Lauren Victoria Burke, I'm glad knowing you.
This may be the most important speech I've ever made. I want to provide an update on our ongoing efforts to expose the tremendous voter fraud and irregularities which took place during the ridiculously long November 3rd elections. We used to have what was called Election Day. Now we have election days, weeks and months, and lots of bad things happened during this ridiculous period of time, especially when you have to prove almost nothing to exercise our greatest privilege, the right to vote. As president, I have no higher duty than to defend the laws and the Constitution of the United States. That is why I am determined to protect our election system, which is now under coordinated assault and siege. For months leading up to the presidential election, we were warned that we should not declare a premature victory.
I mean, you run out of things to say with Donald Trump. And really what it comes down to is that in 49 days, he's out of here. And in 49 days, what happens is the power of the bully pulpit, thank goodness, goes to Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris. And he will no longer command the full attention of anybody, which is, of course, why their big master plan, had they lost in 2016, was to start a media company, which I'm sure they will do. Because, everybody's figured out that that's the way that the way you have to sort of do this is sort of control the information, which he's not going to be able to do. He's always going to have the segmented part of the base that is really the only group of people he's talking to. So it really is pathetic. But the fact that the guy lost by 2.8 million votes the first time, and then now is losing by about 7 million now, and now wants to come back in 4 years, and is already talking about announcing for 2024 on January 20 as Joseph Biden is getting sworn in. Hey, go right ahead. There ain't no way he's beating the news cycle that happens when Joe Biden gets sworn in. I don't care what he does. So, it was funny. Roland Martin had a brilliant idea that I heard tonight on his show, which was having, instead of, because we know obviously that Donald Trump is not going to show up to the inauguration. Donald Trump is not going to welcome Vice President Biden into the White House before January 20. I mean, we know these things. So, he's going to act like it's not existing until he gets thrown out. And so what? Who cares? In fact, I actually think him resisting is quite entertaining. I actually like it that way. Make it all the more entertaining for us that he gets thrown the heck out of there. He has to leave and, and hang his head in shame as he's walking out the door. So who cares? But Roland had the idea of having Barack Obama and Michelle Obama show up at the White House on the 20th and do the ceremonial sort of handoff where, you're supposed to have the ex-president, the ex-president and the incoming president greet each other on the front portico, but it's not going to happen. So then how do we do that? And if I was them, I would do something like that. May even want to have George W. come in, Jimmy Carter, all your other ex-presidents just stand there and do like just a ceremonial greeting of some type as Biden comes into the White House. But I'd figure something out that was a little bit of a spectacle, not only to own that news cycle, but to prove to Donald Trump that he doesn't matter. We don't need you to continue our democracy. So they should do something like that. I thought that was a sweet idea. I'm going to listen to him ramble for a little bit and then check out.
We were told repeatedly that it would take weeks, if not months, to determine the winner, to count the absentee ballots, and to verify the results. My opponent was told to stay away from the election. Don't campaign. We don't need you. We've got it. This election is done. In fact, they were acting like they already knew what the outcome was going to be. They had it covered, and perhaps they did, very sadly for our country. It was all very, very strange. Within days after the election, we witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint a winner, even while many key states were still being counted. The The constitutional process must be allowed to continue. We are going to defend the honesty of the vote by ensuring that every legal ballot is counted and that no illegal ballot is counted. This is not just about honoring the votes of 74 million Americans who voted for me. It's about ensuring that Americans can have faith in this election and in all future elections. Today, I will detail some of the shocking irregularities.
This is so embarrassing. I mean, it is just when you think that Donald Trump cannot get lower, he gets lower. Just when you think that there is no way that this can get more embarrassing or, more ridiculous and more foolish and scandalous, he's able to top himself every single time. And I was actually surprised that he didn't try something like a national, address or something like that, or just take to the briefing room in prime time to see if he can compel. But see, what has now happened finally, and it took 4 years, but what is now happening is the major networks are not carrying him. So he is basically, he's basically blocked out. And finally, they figured out that, hey, probably a bad idea to carry somebody completely lying, the entire time live on national TV and seen by millions. I mean, it's not enough to just carry it and say, oh yeah, he was lying. There had to be a better way, and this is the better way. I think it's embarrassing, and you cannot. I mean, 49 days, and it can't come soon enough. And it is just beyond words. But, he is going to do more things. He's going to do many more things. He's going to do the pardons of, I'm sure, his entire family and a bunch of other people, including probably himself. And he's going to probably do some other things, too, walking out the door. He's got 49 days, and there's a lot he can do. But at the same time, time goes by so quickly that New Year's will be here before we know it. And obviously, listening to this, it can't get here soon enough.
Abuses and fraud that have been revealed in recent weeks. But before laying out just a small portion of the evidence we have uncovered, and we have so much evidence, I want to explain the corrupt mail-in balloting scheme that Democrats systematically put into place that allowed voting to be altered, especially in swing states, which they had to win.
Yeah, and those swing states just happen to have cities like Philadelphia, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. Wow. Gee, I wonder why it is that. I mean, the idea that he can't handle the fact that he got fewer votes 2 elections in a row. It's embarrassing. I mean, he got fewer votes the first time. Remember, he tried to lie and say, oh, yeah, well, that was fraud, that Hillary got almost 3 million more than I did. But it's just repeating itself, and it will happen again in 4 years if he runs again. It's funny that the Democrats have been trying to flip Georgia for years. We've been hearing about this for years. Cycle after cycle, Georgia. It would never happen. And the same thing with Texas. Oh, Texas, we could flip it. It never happens. And when it does happen, it happens with Donald Trump as the person who loses that state. And I don't think it's a coincidence, because even though everybody always talks about how he is a loser that has the record amount of votes, I mean, you can't deny the fact that Joe Biden has got the record amount of votes, over 80 million. So you always have to remember that when you bring out your votes, you're bringing out the opponents. The biggest GOTV campaign is Donald Trump. And, for their side, the biggest GOTV campaign is whoever the heck the opponent is of Donald Trump. So I don't know. I feel like if he comes back in 4 years, he's going to lose in 4 years, unless the Democrats make a colossal error in judgment. It is certain that is the pattern. That is the trend. I really didn't think that Hillary Clinton was the greatest retail politician in the world. And I think that's one of the reasons why she lost. But she certainly, resume wise, was certainly better than anybody who was standing on any stage that she was standing on. And, it reflected in the fact that she got 2.8 million more votes than he did. But he got lucky on the map. He got lucky on the Electoral College map, and he pulled it out. So, you can't, what can you say about it? But this rambling thing here is just so incredibly embarrassing.
They just didn't know that it was going to be that tough, because we were leading in every swing state by so much, far greater than they ever thought possible. While it has long been understood that the Democrat political machine engages in voter fraud from Detroit to Philadelphia to Milwaukee,
There we go.
Atlanta,
There we go. There we go. All the, wow. What do those cities have in common? Milwaukee, Atlanta, Detroit, and Philadelphia. It's unbelievable. Basically, what's happening here in full daylight is the argument is, if black voters put Joe Biden over the top, then something fraudulent must have happened. And it's effectively exactly what they're saying. They're not even trying to sugarcoat it. They've dropped all pretenses. There it is, right in full daylight. And, this is what the Republican Party created. When you have decided that you're going to go for your base voters and not try to change any policies whatsoever to try to reach out to any other constituency or try to diversify the party, this is what you get. And the irony is they're figuring it out on the congressional level, because the reason that they won some of these seats that they did win is that they have some very diverse candidates. They did some very good candidate recruiting on the Republican side, particularly with regard to House candidates, but also with Senate candidates. And it reflected in the fact that they were able to recover some seats that they lost in the wave election that the Democrats won in 2018. So I sit there and I say to myself, why can't they think about that on the presidential level? But this guy is never going to do that. He is never going to do that. But this is part of being a con artist. You can never admit the con. You got to keep going with the con, got to look people straight in the eye and keep lying. And never, the one rule of the con is never admit the con. So he's conning himself right now. And for the next 49 days, we have to listen. We actually don't have to listen, but he's going to try something. He's going to get bigger and he's going to do something crazier and crazier as we march toward him moving out the door.
so many other places. What changed this year was the Democrat Party's relentless push to print and mail out tens of millions of ballots sent to unknown recipients.
All right. And that's where I think that's where I'm going to end, because it's just getting wackier here. And we all know what we're about to listen to in terms of the content being inaccurate. It's a shame. It's embarrassing. And all you can say is 49 days. This is Brooke File, and I'm Lauren.